Second, you will have 5 or 6 careers. You'll go to school, get a degree, develop expertise in a given field, devote yourself to it for 20 or 30 years, and then quit and start again, doing something entirely different. As our lifetimes become extended, so too will our rites of passage. As recently as 1960, it was common to marry in your late teens. You were expected to have children, plural, before you were 25. Middle age and midlife crises hit at 45, and the elderly were 65. If today's trends continue unabated, the year 2050 will find people marrying for the first time at age 50, having kids in their 60s, facing middle age in their 80s, retiring in their 120s, and dying in their 140s. These prognostications remind us that financial planning is a process, not a product. A financial plan must be periodically reviewed, with its assumptions challenged and altered based on changes in the economy and in your own circumstances. If you plan to retire at 65 and you're assuming a life expectancy of age 90, you're assuming a 25-year retirement. But what if you live to 140? Will you have enough income for a 75-year retirement? Welcome to the 22nd century. I hope you'll be ready. Reason number 4, to pay for the costs of raising children. You're earning, and you'll continue to earn, a huge income. Take a 35-year-old making $3,000 a month. Even if you ignore salary increases, that's more than $1 million in career earnings. The issue, however, is not how much money you earn, but how much you keep. Look at the money your parents and grandparents earned over their careers. How much do they have left? You easily could have little left from a lifetime of work because you have expenses, lots of expenses. Can you name your biggest expense? Children. According to the USDA, a baby born in 1997 will cost high-income families, defined as those earning more than $56,000 a year, nearly $350,000. Families earning less than $37,000 will still spend more than $176,000, while those in between will rack up expenses of nearly $240,000. That's per child, and only for the first 17 years. Reason number 5, to pay for college. Guess what happens when the kids turn 18? They go to college. It's estimated that for a baby born in 1996, the cost of college will be $180,000 for an in-state school and $300,000 for the Ivy League. Reason number 6, to pay for a daughter's wedding. And if you have daughters, get ready for another major expense, the wedding. According to Brides magazine, the average cost is $17,000. Washingtonian magazine puts it at $28,000. Reason number 7, to buy a car. With the average price of a car approaching $20,000, this is one of your biggest and most confusing financial decisions. Reason number 8, to buy a home. Americans devote the largest portion of their income to housing. Consequently, how you handle the purchase of your home will have far-reaching implications on virtually every other facet of your financial life. Reason number 9, to be able to retire when and in the style you want. Consider food. Assuming you and your spouse retire at 65 and live to 85, you're going to eat 43,800 meals in retirement. If each of those meals costs just $5, you'll spend $219,000 on food. Where's the money going to come from? Only 19% of retirees earn more than $20,000 a year. The rest, 81% of all retired Americans, are financial failures. But these masses didn't plan to fail. They simply failed to plan, because under the old rules, planning wasn't necessary. It used to be that a worker and his family could be comfortable if he retired at 62 on a pension and Social Security. But that doesn't happen anymore. Today you don't retire as young as 62, unless you've been downsized out of work, and you're going to live much longer than your parents and grandparents did, aren't you? Therefore, your money must last much longer. One thing is sure, it's not going to happen by itself. It's going to require effort and attention. Reason number 10. To pay for the costs of long-term care. Prior generations did not have to deal with the costs of long-term care, but we must. Of those who reach age 65, it's estimated that 1 in 2 will require long-term care at some point. The average annual cost of a nursing home exceeds $40,000. Neither your health insurance nor Medicare will pay for it. The result? 12.5 million senior citizens today are supported by others because they don't have the money to care for themselves. Reason number 11, to pass wealth to the next generation. This is more difficult than ever because living longer means it's increasingly likely that you will spend your money before you have the chance to bequeath it. Economists call this transference of wealth. Historically, money was passed from father to son. Today, our grandparents live so much longer than before, longer than they ever expected, that they often run out of assets and have nothing to leave to their children. Therefore, instead of passing wealth down to the children, the kids are sending money up to the parents. Thus, for the first time in our nation's history, the transfer of wealth is going backwards. It is for all these reasons that you need to create a financial plan. As you begin trying to accumulate wealth, you'll encounter 4 major obstacles. Obstacle number 1, procrastination. Without question, procrastination is the most common cause of financial failure. I've heard the complaint that procrastination does not belong at the top of my enemies of money list. There must be other, more serious causes of financial failure, right? Wrong. I cannot stress enough the need for you to get started right now. If there's only one thing in this entire program that you need to take on faith, it's this. There is never an ideal time for planning, and while you can always find a reason to put it off, don't. Do it now. Procrastination will cause you financial ruin more effectively, more completely than the worst advice a crooked broker could ever give you. Obstacle number 2, spending habits. Have you ever withdrawn $50 from an automatic teller machine yet find your wallet or purse empty just a few days or a few hours later? Have you ever asked yourself, where does all my money go? You're probably piddling it away. You have absolutely no idea you're doing it because if you did know, you would instantly stop, for there isn't a rational human being in the world who would tolerate such nonsense. But we all piddle away money because we don't pay attention. To avoid this problem, you've got to look at your spending habits, for that's where you'll find the key to your financial future. Obstacle number 3, inflation. The most onerous of money's enemies, inflation is perhaps the best illustration of how the rules of money have changed. Over the past 23 years, inflation averaged 5.8% per year. At that rate, a 50-year-old earning $50,000 a year who plans to retire at 65 on that same income will need a net worth of $2.2 million, and his income in his first year of retirement will be $119,000. Indeed, to look into the future, you need not 20/20 vision, but an inflation-adjusted 50/50 vision. In fact, 6% annual inflation means $1,000 will be worth barely half that much in 10 years. Put another way, you'll need $1,800 in 10 years to buy what $1,000 buys today. We've grown accustomed to inflation over the past 25 years, but that doesn't mean we don't continue to be hurt by its effects. Obstacle number 4, it's the one we all love to hate, taxes. You work nearly 3 hours of each workday just to pay taxes. No wonder we find it difficult to save money. In addition to federal income taxes, you must contend with state income taxes, plus personal property taxes, sales taxes, user taxes, intangibles taxes, excise taxes, capital gains taxes, and estate taxes. Together, taxes and inflation create a web of incredible treachery. At the turn of the century, taxes and inflation were not a concern. If you deposited money into the bank paid you 2%, and they kept the difference between what it charged and what it paid as its profit. Why were our parents and grandparents willing to accept a 2% return on their savings? Because it was profitable for them to do so. With no inflation, the 2% they earned was a real 2%, and with no taxes to pay, they got to keep it all. My point is that our parents and grandparents were able to succeed financially with a 2% bank account. Yet if we do what they did, if we handle our money the way they handled theirs,